Well, welcome everyone to Straight Talk for tonight's online community forum. I'm Pam Duncan, and I'm the president and CEO of Metropolitan Development Council. We are joined here, as always, by my lovely sidekick, Amanda Westbrook, who serves as the moderator for our weekly conversations. Amanda?
And I am honored to be your sidekick, Ms. Duncan. Tonight's conversation is the 45th in a series of great discussions that started last year. Yeah, major on this. We hold weekly discussions around important topics impacting our communities in Tacoma and Pierce County. Pam, what are we talking about tonight?
Tonight, we mark May as Mental Health Month with a panel discussion with key MDC staff about behavioral health services in our community. I am so excited about this. The most important thing as well to remember throughout the series of conversations that we're having is that there is hope for our community. Amanda.
Absolutely, there is, Pam. We'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that this meeting is being conducted on the indigenous lands of the Puyallup people. We gratefully acknowledge that we rest on the traditional lands of the Puyallup people, where they make their home and speak the Lushootseed language. Throughout tonight's conversation, you can submit your questions to be addressed by our speakers using the Q&A function in Zoom. And we cannot promise we'll have time to consider every question, but we will make our best effort to get through it in the allotted time. Now I would like to introduce our guests for tonight's discussion. Hayley Smith. Hello there, Miss Hayley Smith.
There Hello.
Her fabulous.
Have to do the wave, yes.
Do the wave, or you can do this too. Okay. She is the outpatient services and withdrawal management program manager for MDC. Hayley, thank you for being here today after a long Monday. And joining you, this beautiful woman next to you is Jennifer Balangue. You are a mental health professional who works with clients through MDC's co-occurring program. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here on Straight Talk.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. I'd like to also draw attention to our kind and gentle producer, Rob Huff, who's up there in the corner waving at us. Every week he supplies us with guests and questions, and we love him dearly, don't we? And of course, my cohort in crime and my soul sister, Pam Duncan. Love her. We hopefully will be joined by Ronald Wilkins. He is a chemical dependency professional who works for MDC in the withdrawal management program. And Rob's having some difficulty logging in. So we'll just wish him ease and we'll start. How's that? So first off, as Pam often says, I'm going to let the spirit of conversation move you. So I won't be calling on you. I'll let you decide to jump in when you feel you're ready. So the first question is to get started, and this is for Rob and Pam also, with a check-in of how everyone is doing in their heart today, or what is it that you are currently processing?
So I will jump in here. This was actually one of the hardest questions, as you mentioned a few minutes ago. And I think that I want to say things are really positive and hopeful with COVID going on and with all the changes. But honestly, I would say in my heart of hearts, it's feeling a little stressful, the potential rollbacks with everything, how that's going to impact both professional and personal lives. And yeah, I think that's been on my heart a lot today, specifically for some reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would play off that with Hayley's thoughts that
especially when you pay attention to the international news right now and you see what's going on in places like India. I'm thankful that we don't have that same level of concern here now. Um, but also recognize that the US is in a strange place where we have privilege and access to the vaccines that other parts of the world don't. Yet we have so many people, some of whom I know, who don't want to get a vaccine. And so, um, yeah, like every week when this question comes up, it's a little bit of a conundrum.
Yeah, I agree with that, Rob. Every day I wake up and it's kind of a conundrum when I ask myself that question.
I too feel the stress a lot. Sorry about that, guys. I too feel the stress a lot, but I'm feeling very hopeful too with the weather looking as good as it is. I recently got my vaccine as well, and a lot of our clients are talking about getting their vaccine and registering. So they're starting to feel a little light as well.
That's awesome.
And Ronald has just joined us. Hello, Ronald.
Hello, how are you?
I am well. It's good to see you. I'm so sorry you're having technical difficulties. It seems to be just a daily occurrence, doesn't it?
Yes.
It does. Pam, would you tell us how your heart is while Ron gets himself settled?
Sure. I typically tend to go last so that everyone can have an opportunity to weigh in. And I am embarking on intentionality to practice gratitude, because I'm that person who tends to think about and try to figure out how to address the things that are not going right, to the extent that I forget about the things that are going right or going well. And so I am going to say today, my heart is very full and I am very grateful. I've had the opportunity to spend some good quality time with my mom and my aunt, both who are up in years. And so because we know life is so precious, I just want to say that I'm just very happy. I'm extremely happy that I had that opportunity to spend time with both of them, two ladies who have been very influential in my life.
Oh, well, I would agree with that. And I want to say they did a good job of rearing your baby. Mr. Ron,
Yes.
there you are. I see your ear. It's very attractive, I have to tell you. Those earrings. And first we want to say thank you so much for joining us. You are on vacation and you're dialing in. So you get a big whoop whoop from us. Ron, one of the questions that we always start out with is we check in with how everyone is doing in their heart. And so how is your heart doing tonight? And or what have you been processing today on your vacation?
Well, as of this very moment, I'm going to pull this one off. I thought that everything was copacetic. And the reason you're seeing my ear is because my laptop isn't working and I'm having to use my cell. And I think what I ought to do is go and find a pair of earplugs or earbuds. But aside from that, I'm doing well. First day of vacation, or as I affectionately refer to it, staycation. Got taxes done and a few other things. So I'm doing relatively good, I think.
All right. Ron, if you want to go grab those headphones.
Thank you.
Go right
Thank
ahead.
you.
We're just going to chit chat while you're gone. How's that?
All right.
All right. So as a way to get into this conversation, Hayley and Jennifer, I would like for each of you to share a little bit about the work that you do with clients at MDC. And Hayley, would you start first?
Sure. So my role is not to provide specific direct services, but to provide an arena in which we can provide a good access to service for our clients. And so we offer many different types of programs with outpatient and as well as our withdrawal management and inpatient unit. But I think that I see my role as one in which I have the ability to decrease barriers to access to care for our clients. And that's something that I take really to heart and very seriously.
Well said. Jennifer, tell us about what you do for MDC.
So I'm providing direct mental health services to our clients, which is most conventionally known as talk therapy. So I hold one-on-one sessions with our clients for therapy. But beyond that, I'm also doing assessments. We come up with like treatment plans together, safety planning. And then I also work really closely with their case managers and their substance use disorder counselors.
Okay, so Hayley and Jennifer, if I were to say, Hayley, you are in charge of services that people need in the community. And Jennifer, you actually are talking with clients in the community. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yeah, more or less. I think I see my role as one, I mean, my title being program manager, but one in which I can facilitate the programs in which people like Jennifer and Ron can actually facilitate the services. So I think that both are equally important. I absolutely really love our clinicians. And I think that the clinicians are what, I hate to say this, but what make the world go around. I think our clinicians, meaning Jennifer, Ron, and the others who are very similar, all of our SUDPs, et cetera, they are the ones putting in the real work.
They're angels, aren't they? Yeah. I'm a big therapy guru, so I love what you just said. Ron, thank you for finding earphones. So Ron, can you let us know what you do for MDC as a chemical dependency professional in withdrawal management?
Yes, I can. When I first arrived at MDC, it was twofold. I worked for healthcare for the homeless, so I had to be credentialed to do that. Worked down at the other building to tabulate the homeless population, and I would submit reports. And then that went away, and my primary job is the SUDP for withdrawal management. And I meet with the clients within 24 to 48 hours of their getting there. I usually like to give them a day to acclimate to being at withdrawal management. And then I go in and attempt to meet with them to assess their needs, whatever they might be. If they're requiring insurance, I can help them navigate that system. If they're looking to go into treatment, I do the assessment, do bed placement, and all of that has changed since COVID. But, and then some just want to talk. They like to feel that they've been validated, and I assure them that I'm hearing you and I do understand, and we just move from there and see what we can do. No one leaves withdrawal management without having some sort of a backup plan. It may not be that they don't want to go to treatment, but there are recommendations that are made for them. So,
Ron, you mentioned the letters SU, D as in Delta, P as in Paul. What does that stand for?
Substance, well, it used to be CDP, and then they changed it to substance abuse. Oh, golly gosh. Professional, yeah. Yes, substance abuse
disorder.
professional. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
substance
there
use
we
disorder
go.
professional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Formerly known as chemical dependency professional.
Yeah.
Well done, team. Got in there and got that word out.
All these acronyms in our social services, it's hard to keep up with them all.
Oh, yeah.
I used to work for a government agency, and I threatened to make a dictionary out of all the acronyms. Nobody can understand us unless you worked alongside us. So
Mhm.
Right.
it happens, just like we have nicknames in families, that happens too. So we know that May is Mental Health Month. Pam mentioned that at the top of the greeting. And, you know, we're suffering. People are dying, we are grieving, we're angry, we're hungry, we're being murdered by police. This is probably not the most shining moment for us in the history of our world, given suicide rates, alcoholism. So I wonder if each of you could share why you think it's critical to mark the importance of mental health this month. And I could ask the question, do we really need to mark it? Don't we already know? Haley, I'll start with you.
You love starting with me, Amanda.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not starting.
No. So you kind of took the words out of my mouth a second ago. I wish that we wouldn't have to narrow it down to 1 month to talk about such a really important topic. I think though that the way our society tends to really focus on important issues is to have a large campaign for it. So it is good in that respect. I do just think that it would be beneficial if we could have ongoing education and awareness at all points in time, and with the larger goal of destigmatizing mental health concerns.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Ron, is Ron there? Ron, do you want to weigh in on this about why we think it's important to mark Mental Health Month? Okay, let's go to you, Jennifer.
Sure. I just want to piggyback off of Haley and say that it's, historically in our culture, it's not something that has been encouraged to seek out help for or support for. So having a month to bring awareness to it, to me, is just another opportunity for everyone to share their struggle, find the support that they need, and, hopefully start that journey to whatever healing that they need.
Well said. Ron, in your experience working in this arena, why is it important for us to mark May as Mental Health Month? Ron, you're on mute. Ron, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
No.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's important because it does continue to bring you there. Okay, to the forefront the importance, and I think it allows the community to become even more aware of what's going on. It's difficult enough now with the pandemic and people not being able to tap into the resources. I see it on a daily basis when I have a client that is telling me they're trying to get in touch with but a mental health facility for services, and they can't do it. There's no one answering the phones or whatever. I'm just glad that we have brought out a month, and the fact that it's Mother's Month too. Mother's Day was I get calls from moms wanting to know about, can you get my son, my daughter, my husband into treatment, and really the only true co-occurring residential facility that I know of in Pierce County is full most of the time. So these people, a lot of people are displaced, losing homes, losing jobs, not being able to afford food, and they don't know where to turn to. And they do things that they normally would not do to survive. And I understand that.
Yeah.
And it's a shame in a country as great as we are supposed to be. There just aren't enough people out there to help.
Yeah. Boy, you touched a heartstring on that one. Pam, is there something that you would like to add to this?
Absolutely. We have a great team of mental health professionals at MDC who show up with their hearts on their sleeves every day. And I think it's important to really elevate Mental Health Awareness Month, because there are so many folks who suffer from mental health concerns. Maybe they're diagnosed, maybe they're not. There's such a great stigma in our communities about behavioral health, and especially in Black and Brown communities, that people are afraid that if I say something, then I'm going to be ostracized, and I need my people, so it's better if I don't say anything. And I really believe an ounce of prevention is definitely worth a pound of cure. And so if we could get in front of things, maybe so much of what we see in our community now would not occur. So I think it's important to make certain that we talk about it and we're open about it. And just like if you break your arm and you have a cast on, you tell people, hey, I fell riding my bike or whatever it is. I went to the doctor. It's the same thing.
So well said, Pam. So well said. Every time mental health rolls around, I challenge myself to find something new that I didn't know before about it. And I knew about fight, flight, or freeze, didn't know about fawn. Didn't know if that was a part of that. And when we're asking people to keep your gatherings small and stay away from large crowds, that is a disconnect. And disconnect leads to depression, and depression leads further down the spiral. So I, for one, am very happy that every May we have this. Rob, do you want to add anything to this before I move on? Okay.
No.
Thank you, kind and gentle producer Rob. Let's talk about COVID and how this has affected all three of you. Your work, you've seen your work change because of the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. What does that look like to have your work change in such an intimate way? Jennifer.
Well, for all the clinicians, we're doing everything telehealth. So we're having all of our appointments through phone or by Zoom, as opposed to in-person meetings. So that has drastically changed. And it's had both a positive and a negative impact. We're becoming more accessible in a way because we're available through phone and through Zoom, and because therapy can be so daunting to some people, it actually can be a little bit more approaching. But for those who may not have a phone or have access to the internet, there is that barrier as well.
Yeah. And boy, those barriers are something we are so aware of now. Ron, as you work with individuals, and certainly, as you said, when they get there, you talk with them, you see them, you validate them. How are you doing this during COVID?
Oh, how am I doing it? It seems like such a simple question. They're they're on the unit. I go in, I talk to them. We try and come up with a plan. Like I said earlier, I'm there to meet their needs. I meet them where they're at. You know, I personally don't believe in throwaway people. The assessment is a huge piece because that tells me what areas are of major concern. I hear a lot of different stories. I once, well, never mind. Through COVID, I have been there from day one. I have worked in my office, which is not a problem for me. I think part of that question was how has it affected me as well? Right. I had my own epiphany about a week and a half ago, and it dawned on me that I'm not clinically depressed, but I was actually depressed. I didn't realize that I had taken so many of the minor things like going out and eating in a restaurant. I have not cooked on my stove in a year. Everything is nuked in the microwave, or it's burgers or whatever. And I'm not a half-bad cook. And it became very clear to me that if I'm not taking care of me and I'm not dealing with COVID, other than saying, you know, oh, well, I'll get a shot and I'll be okay. It took my supervisor saying, you know, hey, you know, are you okay? You look like you're burning out, you know, and I don't want that to happen. And I go, you know, and it's not good for me. It's not good for the guests that we serve. But through those experiences, I find that it's easier for me to relate to our guest, because then it's, oh, well, you know, I didn't go to the principal's office. This guy is really there to help. He understands. He's going through maybe some of the same things I am. So let's get honest about it. You know, I think it's important for us as a community to be there for one another. Yeah, that's why I'm on vacation. Self-care.
Yes.
But this is important. This is important. Yes. I don't believe it. I don't believe in throwaway people. You know, everyone needs to be validated. We all want that, you know, but we want people to share their truth, to be open, to be honest, and know that they're not alone.
No.
You know, they're not alone.
And Ron, when you bring your transparent self to the table, you give permission for other people to do the same. You do. Ms. Hayley, how has COVID changed your work?
Mm-hmm. So I think that I can answer that in two ways. One, similar to what Ron was saying, is it's made me a little bit more aware of my own mental health. And that started, you know, when COVID started. So you have to start to pay more attention to that, to make sure you're okay to provide those services necessarily, or to take care of yourself. And I think especially in the beginning of the pandemic, that was something that I was hyper aware of. Make sure I stay emotionally and mentally in a good place so that I can help provide the services in which I was providing at that point in time. In terms of work, though, the pandemic has made, as Jennifer said, a lot more accessibility to treatment in some ways, but in other ways, we're seeing that a lot of our clients, or just people out there in general who need services, cannot obtain them because maybe they do need to actually come in for services and they don't have the abilities for telehealth. We think about our, the individuals in our community who don't have cell phones. Majority probably don't have computers to be able to, or internet, or, there's a lot of barriers there. And when we were on a more strict lockdown, that there was no options to come in for services. There was places like, the emergency room if you're having a mental health crisis, but that's not the best place for people who are having some loneliness. There's crisis lines, but how are they going to call them all the time? There's a lot of barriers there that you don't think about until you're put into this pandemic situation, that have come to light, I think. And we've all been using our creative skills to try to find ways to allow access to treatment. And so I think in some ways it's been improved. In other ways, we're still working on it.
Hayley, you segued beautifully into my next question. I promise I won't start with you, but it is for the three of you. What have you found to be the most critical need that you have seen with your clients? And Jennifer, let's start with you.
Well, I have three in mind.
Yeah.
I think for my clients in particular, probably just managing their anxieties, trying to get into a meds management program, and housing. I mean, that's always been a recurring issue for everyone. So those are the top three that come to my mind.
And boy, they are all interlinked, aren't they?
Absolutely.
I mean, talk about the holy trinity of good mental health. That's it right there. What about for you, Ron, in the sense of when you're sitting down and talking with people, what is the most critical need that you are seeing with clients?
Housing, without a doubt. Housing, without a doubt.
Yeah, that's not new news to us, is it?
No.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to be on the street anymore. If I go back out on the street, this is what's going to happen, and they've already got it in their mind that it's just going to be a negative experience. And, I try to get them to readjust that thinking that there are some positive things out there for them. But in order to have that happen, you're going to have to do at least A and B to get to C, and are you willing to do that?
Right.
A lot of folks are in survival mode, and as far as the community, Pam had made a comment, and that is, so true. It's become a trust issue for a lot of people. Getting the vaccine, doing A, B, how could this happen? How could we have gone through what we've gone through? And the people that are supposed to be looking out for us in Washington, it's just insane.
Yeah. That trust is huge, as Pam said. When the three of you think about the stress that COVID-19 has impacted on your work, let's talk about how it's affected those clients with addictions, because that is already the baseline is different. I've been sober for 13 years, so I know about addictions, and being an alcoholic during a pandemic, I can't think of a worse time to have your vision skewed. It's already not where it needs to be. So Jennifer, how are you dealing with people and addictions right now? What is COVID-19 doing to them?
I think it's made a lot of people uneasy. And like you said, you're really knowledgeable about it, but not everyone is. So a lot of it in my opinion, has to be an informed decision. And, sometimes the guidance and the info that they receive, isn't accurate or isn't what they need to hear. So it's kind of our jobs to get them where they need to be and bring awareness to them and education to them. And hopefully they make the decision that's right for them, where the timing is right for them too.
Yeah, all of those factors are in there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because talking with someone who has an addiction and them having a mental state of where they should live or what's going to happen if I enter that treatment house, either for the first time or for my 5th time, that's all something that you have to overcome that COVID-19 has just set on fire.
Right. There's a lot of uncertainty in the air about that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Ron, your clients that you are sitting down and validating, those with just raging addictions, what has COVID-19 done to those gentle souls?
Well, it's caused a few of the facilities to be shut down for short periods of time. So that takes away beds. So they can't get into treatment if the facility isn't open. What else? God, I'm trying to think now.
Okay, you've got staycation brain.
I do. Such a beautiful day out today. The majority of my clients are all substance use. There's not an awful lot of mental health, although there are some that come in that do have, they're could be dual diagnosed. And it's moving them to a point that, well, let me backtrack. Their options are presented to them, and we have a great program with the MAT program now. And again, if they don't have a laptop or computers, they can't get in the libraries because the libraries are closed, where they could utilize, a computer. There's a few, like the Recovery Cafe, I believe, has computers where people can go in and use the phone. So they're, I think if they see that they matter, and that even with COVID, they're still going to have the ability to do those things. I get to go to work 5 days a week. I get to drive my vehicle. I get to have a cell phone. A lot of people don't get to do that. And it's not so much that, we just need places where these people can go and get what they need when they need it. There needs to be a body, a human being there. You were talking about, you shared that you were in recovery. I'm coming up on 28 years. And we are, I don't want to say a unique breed of people, but we have to learn that the whole world doesn't evolve around us, that there are protocols or things that we have to do in order to get what we want. And to feel as if, beg your pardon? To feel as if the carpet has been snatched out from under us and we have no place to go, nothing to do. On our unit, we've developed a needs list. And so there's one for myself and there's one for the recovery coach. And if a guest has a question or something like that, and I'm not meeting with them or the recovery coach isn't there, they can write down on the pad that this is so-and-so, I need to speak with you, Ron. And then I check that every day and 3 or 4 times a day. And when I have 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, then I will bring them back in and they're talked to, they're heard.
Yeah.
You know, those feelings don't go unattended to. And the fact that we are down to, I believe, 12, no. Yeah, census is 12, I believe. It actually gives me a bit more time to spend with people, to talk with people. I kind of like it. It's like when I was doing residential,
Yeah.
which is what I cut my teeth on.
Well, you know,
You know,
COVID has taken away that uh, that contact. So Hayley, for you,
right.
you have these programs that Jennifer and Ronald do very well with in terms of their clients. But what happens when COVID shuts everything down, or those community programs are out of business?
Yeah, and so that kind of leads into what I was about to, that I really did want to respond to with this question. You know, I think I'm a big proponent of harm reduction. I think that this is a perfect time in which we can really educate people on harm reduction principles, because if programs shut down, for example, there's nowhere for people to go. People with substance use issues need to have safe options, even if it's not treatment. And that was one of my biggest things I really wanted to put out there is we need to provide education to individuals with substance use disorders on their other options. If they can't get into detox, what are some things they can do to keep themselves safe when they are in a lockdown, when they are not going to be able to stop using completely, but there's safe ways to do that. That's something very near and dear to my philosophy of treatment and my heart with that, because we've lost so many people from drug-related overdoses and deaths and poisonings, and I think that it's only increased through COVID. So I think being able to educate people on what other things they can do, even if they can't get into a specific treatment program, is extremely important.
So Hayley, do you feel like that stigma that once existed around those mental health challenges, be it addiction, be it drinking, be it harm, is changing? I mean, has the pandemic and the stress that it's created in everyone's lives weighed into that change? I mean, because we're all so much more raw now in terms of every day what we have to face, let alone those people who are struggling with an addiction.
Yeah, I think yes and no. So yes, I think that the stigma has changed for things like what you just described, some adjustment issues, anxiety issues, some depression, loneliness. It has changed for that because everybody's experiencing them. That's when change happens, when more and more people are experiencing them, to say that that's normal. It's the stigma surrounding addiction, I don't think has changed even with the pandemic. I don't think that stigma around psychosocial stressors like homelessness has changed. And I don't think that the stigma surrounding the persistent and severe mental illness, we're talking like the psychosis, the schizophrenia, that I don't think that's changed. So yes, because more people have experienced some depression and anxiety, not that that's any less important to address, but the overall stigma with a lot of the more marginalized individuals and populations, I don't feel like, my opinion, it has changed much. I think we're still trying to other people. Jennifer, what would you add to that?
I would agree with everything Hayley had said. You know, I've heard stories and I've witnessed it, you know, to my clients and loved ones too. So.
Yeah. And Ron, you want to weigh in on this? Ron, you're on mute, my dear.
There's one positive thing that I can say about all of that is that the mental health community and the SUD community, in my opinion, are finally coming together and not trying to one up one or the other, that we're beginning to function like a true team in a lot of different areas. And so I'm not giving COVID total credit for that. I think sometimes, people just get wise and go, why are we beating our heads against the wall? We're both trying to do the same thing. Does it really matter whether the chicken came before the egg or the egg came before the chicken? I mean, that's just not important right now. We need to find something that's going to work. We need to, I like to get guests that we have involved in their treatment planning, because I feel they know themselves a little bit better, or a lot better in some cases. And COVID, again, like I said, has given me the opportunity to spend more time with our guests. Now, when this all gets resolved, I don't know what that's going to look like. When we go back to full capacity, it'll be difficult to, sit and meet with someone for an hour, per se, like I would do if I were still doing residential. So the time that they're with us in withdrawal management, it's real important. And not only are they having what's going on with them, they've got other things to deal with. So there you go.
So well said. And once we get back to whatever normal looks like, or whatever this hybrid's going to look like, it is my fervent prayer that we don't lose this connection that we are having with people right now when it comes to talking about mental health and the daily intimacies of working smart, not hard with each other professionally as well. Question for the three of you. Are you getting the sense the people are finding more hope in our country and region as we slowly start to emerge from COVID-19? Or is it actually turning out to be even more stressful time for people in terms of maybe vaccine hesitancy? Hayley mentioned start of the show, the potential of rolling back and we have to go backwards. So where do you think people are with this? And Ron, I'll start with you.
Absolutely frustrated.
Yeah.
Truly, truly frustrated. And I get it. I totally understand that. But, my job is to help them understand what's going on. I can't address all the issues with COVID because it's outside of my bailiwick, but I'm there to listen. I'm there to let them know that your ego is not your amigo, and it will definitely keep you down. Let's get together and talk about what we can do to help you. Because some people don't want help. They don't. And there's not an awful lot I can do with someone like that, but I don't give up on them.
I love that. Boy, you've got some great words. Let me tell you something. Your ego is not your amigo.
That's right.
By this time next week, that's going to be all over social media. Ron and I are writing it down.
Well, I can't take credit for it. I heard it at a meeting and I thought, my goodness, that's it. And when I'm feeling a little bit Twitter-pated, I go, okay, there goes my ego. All right, let me shut her down.
Isn't it true? So Jennifer, how are you seeing people? Are they emerging with hope or are they going back into their stressful cocoon?
I've seen a little bit of both. Several clients who are very hopeful and like anticipating their time to get the vaccine, and then also some, and not just clients, but just people in general who are hesitant and they're eligible and maybe just waiting a little bit longer. So I've kind of seen the whole spectrum of people on board and people that are just a little bit uneasy still.
Jennifer, what do you think they're waiting for?
Oh, geez. I think it's, it's a mix, it's a combination of how other people have reacted to it. Maybe just waiting for a little bit more clarity and confirmation, considering that this is all very new to everyone. Yeah, I mean, probably just more answers.
Yeah, I think we're all waiting for more answers every day. We ask the question, what's new? Where are we with vaccines? What is the governor saying? All of that. Hayley, what about you? What have you seen in terms of people who are running programs? Are they just throwing up their hands and going, I'm done until after COVID? Or are they saying, no, we're going to dig in and work even harder?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the latter. I don't think anybody who is in this field of work is saying I'm done. But as I said before, there's a lot of challenges. It requires us to be creative and have the adaptability to meet people where they are within this strange, unfamiliar territory. I think that the original question regarding if there's a sense of hope, I think there is. People are feeling better about coming out, and there is a sense of hope that we're coming out of this. Although I think, in my own personal opinion, I think it's going to be a roller coaster of ups and downs. And the main thing right now is really adjusting to that roller coaster. And also adjusting to kind of a new normal and a new life. And that means sometimes grief and loss. That means dealing with maybe if it's not, death, then it's the loss of, your former lifestyle, the loss of your former life, the loneliness. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be kind of picking up the pieces with. So while there is hope, there's also challenges that come along with us slowly, I guess, emerging from COVID, or at least getting back to a new normal.
That hope that's always kind of tinged with uncertainty when we all go, a year ago, we couldn't even imagine where we are now. Mm-hmm. And is this getting any easier? Pam, you have a question that you sent me that I think this is the appropriate time for it when we talk about, is this getting easier?
So as I was listening to the team talk about what you do, what you are seeing, I just began to wonder, what is the thing, I don't want to say magic wand, because this is not about magic wand. This is about our putting our minds together and determining how we can best serve our community. What would you love to see that we do, MDC, that we provide to improve what we offer to the community? What's something that you think, oh, I wish we could do this? What is it?
Go ahead, Ron.
Thinking back to the days of healthcare for the homeless and having a place where folks could come and do their laundry, work on a computer, things like that. We have a building. There's a lot of times when I've gotten a treatment bed for someone, but it's 3 days out, they're homeless. I don't want to send them back to the street because then we may lose them. They may not make it to treatment. So, I had been working with Park Place. We've got a great partnership with Park Place, and I've been able to sometimes get a city bed for the folks. So if we had something, where they could go on an interim basis, like 3 days they'd be there, and we would, have to monitor, of course, but I think that would be a big help.
I think that's a great answer. How would you answer that, Hayley?
Almost identical to how Ron just said, because Ron and I have had a few conversations about this. Specifically, obviously, out of our withdrawal management unit is finding assistance for people post detox when they don't have treatment beds, because those are very hard to come by these days. And I was just recently in a call for the medical respite sites, and that's what comes to mind when I think about that. So something post detox, post withdrawal management that we could assist people with stability after that. That's a safe place, that there's not substances there, would be really helpful.
Oh boy, you have said a mouthful.
Increased housing resources as well, which I know we've all discussed multiple times as well. Yeah.
That first 90 days for somebody once they've left treatment is so critical, to be able to have a healthy, clean environment to continue their journey with. I can't even comprehend if when I went into my first meeting, if I didn't have a place to live, what that would have been like for me to sit there as a woman, to know that I had to go back out on the streets. Jennifer, what are your thoughts about this? What does MDC need, or what new program would you like to see?
Well, I've thought about this a lot, and Hayley and I have actually talked about this a couple times, but if I'm just daydreaming a little bit, I would love to see a mental health truck, and try to remove all the barriers as much as possible, and we bring the services to them.
Hallelujah! That is good. And I can tell by Ron and Hayley, you all three have been in that conversation going, yes. And I saw Pam raise her eyebrow too. So that means that Pam is aware of this also.
Not just raise my eyebrow, but I did nod vigorously.
You did. I saw it. Yeah. I mean, and man, when I think about that, when I think about a health truck pulling up to a houseless section of tents, and the people coming out and getting the help they need, whether they're sick, whether they're hungry, whether they need to know where they can go and get an EBT card, that is going to the people. I love that. That's fabulous.
Truly meeting them where they're at that point.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I want to also say, not that anybody here on this call doesn't see people who would benefit from that kind of service, but it really brings it home, doesn't it? It really does. For each of you, if someone listening is living in a household with somebody who is living with a mental health challenge, and I have to tell you right now, who of us is not having days when we are just like, can this please end? Let alone those people who really have a diagnosis, bless their hearts. What advice do the three of you have to help ease the burden in a household like that? I know it's a hard question. And because of that, Ron, I'm going to start with you.
Golly gosh, thanks. Living in a house full of people where someone may have a mental health issue, how do the other folks survive? Is that okay? Well, I don't work that much with the mental health side of the house, other than collaborating on certain things. But I know that with substance abuse, there are organizations outside of AA. There's Al-Anon, there's Alateen, people that have substance abuse issues with narcotics. There's Nar-Anon. there's a lot of different organizations with an A behind it. And people need to be aware of that. Those that aren't the family member that's having the issue need to be educated themselves so that they understand what's going on and that they can make healthy, informed decisions and keep them feeling good. And if they're feeling good, then they're more prone to be a bit more understanding with the individual that does have that issue and supportive.
So understanding and supporting, what would you add to that, Jennifer?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just be supportive and as patient as you can. Try to encourage them to seek professional help, because as much as we love our loved ones, we can't be a wife and a therapist to our partners. We can't be a daughter and a therapist to our mothers, right? So if you can just encourage them to seek help, and just ask them how you can best support them in that moment. I think that is super underrated.
Hayley, is there anything that you want to finish off that question with?
No, I think they covered it, but I love what Jennifer just said, is ask them how we can best support them, because everybody's needs are very different and everybody is very individual. So I love that idea of just asking somebody, and then really just educating yourself and asking for help when needed.
Absolutely. Caring for the caregiver is huge. I have learned that from the American Cancer Society, as I'm a caregiver for someone. And if we get burned out, then who takes care of the caregiver? So that's another step of wellness. I want to close this conversation tonight, and it never seems like we have enough time, Rob, to get through everything we want because it's such a deep conversation. But I want to close it out like we do every week by asking the three of you, and Rob and Pam, where are you finding hope this week?
Where am I finding hope?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. Sunday I went to God's house, and it was a beautiful Sunday. That was the start. And I have to keep reminding myself that this too shall pass. Now, I'm not concerned about what it's going to look like because I'm not there yet. We're not there yet. But if I can take care of the present, and if I can be present in everything that I do, then yeah, there's hope. And I try to convey that to our guests. Let's really take a look at this. We do some brain mapping, our mind mapping, and they go, wow, that was simple. So if they have little tiny things that they can do on their own, that will keep them from, going in the opposite direction.
A little empowerment there. Jennifer, where are you finding hope?
I'm also finding hope in with my clients, just hearing their stories, hearing them share what they've accomplished. Them doing it on their own is super hopeful for me. It's something that, their small wins they're huge. So
yeah. Oh, those small wins are huge. Boy, that is a huge statement. Thank you for that. Hayley, what do you want to add about where you're finding hope this week?
I mean, I like that this week is added on there because it changes each week, but really just self-care. I mean, spending time with family, friends, the weather, being outside. I think that changes everybody's mental health and mentality and the positivity there, for the most part. So yeah, personally, that's where I'm finding hope, is really focusing on self-care.
I love that. Mr. Rob Huff, I know that you are an avid runner And that does a lot for your mind, body, soul connection. Where are you finding hope this week?
Well, you're right. It's helpful to find and easy to find hope 1 mile at a time as I'm running the streets around Tacoma. But also this conversation, the compassion and empathy of everybody on this call, that definitely gives me hope.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. Miss Pam, with those slim shoulders that has a lot on them, where are you finding hope this week?
There are three things that daily, when things get really rough, that I think about with this, with the space we find ourselves in. The promise of community action gives me hope. The team that I have the honor of leading, who are represented in those who are on this call today, and I mean this in all sincerity, the team and how people show up because you care gives me hope. And the potential that Metropolitan Development Council has to be of service in this community gives me hope. Those are three things that I constantly think about and that keep me going in terms of where we are in this time that no one could have predicted.
Beautifully said. All right, Miss Pam. Well, according to my clock, it's time for you to verbally drive us home and spiritually tuck us into bed.
Okay, so here's the thing that I want to add to what you heard from members of the Behavioral Health Services team about something that you can do. This is for anyone. It's the crisis text line, 741-741. You can text that number, you can put in help, you can put in talk, whatever, and you will receive an immediate response, and they will, on the other end, seek to connect you to the services that you indicate that you need. And that's 24/7, 741-741. Everyone needs to have that number and share that with other folks. Okay. And I just encourage everyone to look for and sit in that ray of sunshine every day. There was a segment on NPR just recently, and I was looking for it, and it was talking about how people, if your brain feels foggy and you're tired all the time, guess what? You are not alone. That feelings of exhaustion, irritability, and mental fogginess is really our body's normal response to an abnormal year of pandemic life. So whether you have a diagnosis or you don't, either way, it's okay. And it's okay to reach out to someone and say, I need help. That it's okay. That is my parting comment in terms of tucking us in. It's okay to reach out and say, I need help.
Beautiful.
It's okay if you are on the receiving end of that request, to say, I'm here with you.
That's right. That's right.
So I want to thank everyone who joined us, whether you were a listener or you are a participant or you are the moderator or you are our kind and gentle producer.
That's right.
I agree with that statement, by the way. thank you so much for joining us. I hope that this was a productive and meaningful conversation for you, and that you have some takeaways that you can use to share with others. Thanks again for joining us, and everyone, have a really good evening.